Okay, are we ready?
Yes.
All right.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Tana Ijoma. These are my partners in crime, Dylan Kaler and Nathaniel Sandberg. And tonight we'll be presenting some marketing strategies that we have for Green Store. So last week, I was actually at the grocery store on my normal grocery run, and I decided to walk down the bread aisle. And as I was walking down the bread aisle, going for my usual Mrs. Baird's, something caught my attention. As I was looking, I actually noticed this bread that said it was baked fresh in Denton. I immediately put down my bread that I would normally buy and decided to purchase this one instead. So some may ask why. For me, the answer was simple: connection. I felt a sense of connection with the fact that the bread was baked in Denton, and I felt a sense of connection from where the grains that the bread was baked with came from. So this connection that I felt is something that we think is extremely important for Green Store to hone in on for their consumers, the sense of connection. So you have to imagine that Green Store is an outsider coming into an area where many people are not familiar with the name, and they're already familiar with so many big name retailers. So what you have to think, what exactly can Green Store do that's different to draw people away from the monster chains that they're so familiar with? For us, the answer was simple: connection. Connecting with the local narrative of the community, connecting with the local farmers that are within the area, connecting consumers with the local farmers, as well as connecting with the conservation in the local area. So first, we'll start off with connecting with the community. The Midwest is well known for its farming heritage that continues to go strong today. So at each of the communities that Green Store plans to target, our idea is to advertise the Green Store company name as a company in a grocery store that is there to help the local farmer. Continue this tradition through the 21st century. So imagine that Green Store is coming to Bonham, Texas. Some of the marketing strategies and slogans that can be applied can include supporting Bonham or carrying the tradition on. Our idea is for within each Green Store location, for black and white photos from the history of the local community to be included, and to end with a picture of a store manager in a pair of jeans in a potato field with an actual farmer. And the store manager can have on a t-shirt or a hat that has the actual logo of Green Store to show that this is where Green Store is today. We'll also continue this scheme through decorating the inside of the store with photos and short accounts of the community's heritage and other things that have to do with farming or don't necessarily have to do with farming. So next, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Dylan, and he will discuss our other connections.
Thank you, Tana. To share our next idea, I want to tell you about Aaron. Aaron is a guy that works for a large telecommunications firm. He works from home, and he just bought a house with several acres around it out in the country. And as the years go by, he sees his neighbors doing stuff on their acreage, earning money, spending time outside, and he thinks, that looks like something I want to do. So he starts brainstorming, and he looks at the meadow in front of his house, and he thinks, I'm going to grow a tomato patch here. Okay, he's got about 5 acres, so he thinks he can pull it off. So as he's thinking about it, he realizes that there's kind of a problem. Though major retailers demand too many tomatoes for him to produce, he's too small. He would have to be like 10 acres or something. So that kind of gets him down. He thinks, well, maybe I can go to a farmer's market. So he checks that out. But then he finds out that not only does he have to farm the tomatoes and grow them, but he has to be a vendor and a cashier and set up a little booth. And he's not really interested in that. So his dream kind of starts to be pushed away by the overbearing pressure of the big retailers and the unlikely situation with the farmers markets. But then one day he's surfing Facebook during his lunch break, and he sees his friend that his friend shared a page, and so he clicks on it and goes there because he thinks, I think I saw that in the paper this morning. And so he's looking at it, and the title of the page is Green Store's Local Farmers. And on the page are dozens of testimonies from people that he knows, they're his neighbors, and they're saying things like what it's like to do business with Green Store. He sees a section that says the farmers of May, all right, for that month. And in that list, he recognizes some of his neighbors. He recognizes farmers he's seen at the local flea market. And so he thinks, okay, if these guys can do this, I know I can do this. Our idea for you is to show the community your connections to local farmers. And what that'll do is for farmers like Aaron, future farmers, it'll demonstrate to them that you're accessible. It can also do something for future shoppers like Susan. She's a mom, a wife, and a marketing assistant at a major telecommunications firm. Sometimes she thinks about buying her family's food from a different store, but she doesn't really have the time to get into it because she's real busy, 3 kids and all. But then one day she's at work sharing some strawberries with her coworker shared strawberries with her, and she thinks they're fantastic. They're the sweetest strawberries, and they have the most flavor that she's ever tasted. And so, pressing her coworker, Emily, where'd you get these? What brand are these? Where can I get this? Emily just whips out her cell phone and shows her the Facebook ad that's got this list of the farmers that Green Store buys from. And so Susan's looking at this page, and she sees a variety of producers who make homegrown, homemade stuff. And she thinks, man, if the strawberries were this good, I wonder about what other things they have that are homemade that I could buy. And she sees it. She sees honey. She sees bread. She sees stuff that's like bread. It's not a farmer doesn't produce it, a baker. She thinks, I might try this out. If you display these connections that you have to local farmers, not only will you gain the attention of future shoppers like Susan, who's looking for a variety of stuff, but also you'll demonstrate, like I said, to future farmers like Aaron that you're accessible, and that'll build your future supply chain. I know it's an important part of business, especially for a retailer, is where you're going to get your stuff. Build that future supply chain by showing that you're accessible, and then show the customers that your future shoppers that what you have is a variety of stuff. Now for our other idea, the third idea rather, go back to Aaron. He's been thinking about this tomato patch idea. He kind of likes this. He's thinking, if they're accessible, I think it'll work. And so you think, I'll go down there and check them out, So he's strolling through the fresh produce section, and he's, of course, where the tomatoes are. And he's looking, and he starts to think, man, am I really thinking that I'm going to do this? He feels a little doubt, thinks about the cost. He has the background for it. He's got some money saved up, but, he knows it's going to be a difficult road. So he starts to think just about the good part. He envisions the tomato patch with the soil well cultivated, and the nice, neat rows of fragrant tomato bushes and vines. And he starts thinking, man, this is going to be nice. It's going to work. But then reality kicks him in the shin. He's growing organic stuff. And he knows, and he remembers that organic tomatoes, organic anything, plants, are not as resilient as GMO plants, genetically modified plants, to fungi, to pest, insects, to weeds, to bad weather. And so he starts thinking, oh no, I don't know about this. Additionally, he's not going to spray herbicides or pesticides. So he starts to get kind of down again, and it's not looking too good. And he thinks about his tomatoes that he worked so hard for, but he may not get that many because they're organic. And so being organic and not genetically modified, they may not survive some of the difficulties of nature. And so he's picturing his tomatoes in the bins, lined up next to other tomatoes from from well-established farms. And in his mind, that his tomatoes are like the non-athletic kid at school who's standing on the finish line right before a soccer game at recess, wishing it's not hoping it's not the last kid to be picked. And so he's afraid of his tomatoes, his crop, being lost in the maze of fresh produce there in front of him. But then, right as he loses hope, he looks over and sees this basket of tomatoes. And on this basket, there's the tomatoes all have a truck sticker on each tomato. And he notices that the truck sticker, or the sticker, tells him where the tomatoes were grown and who grew them. And although he's reading those words, he starts to imagine instead that it says Aaron's tomatoes. Our third idea is that create a truck sticker for all the goods that are produced locally that you'll sell at your store. And on these stickers have who made it and have where it's made. We don't have where it's made, but have who made it and where it's made. And that'll help farmers like Aaron. He'll know that he can gain brand loyalty. His tomatoes won't just get lost in the maze of fresh produce, but he'll be rewarded for the fruit of his labor because his name will be on his tomatoes from the time they leave his house to the time they land in someone's basket. And also, but you know, you might think, well, what about customers? What about future shoppers? What'll this do for them? Well, let's go back to Susan. She just got off work. She's kind of stressed out because she had an argument with her boss. She just picked up her kids and she's got dinner on her mind and she thinks, man, some salsa would be amazing right now. Made of fresh tomatoes, of course. And so she thinks, well, you know, I saw that green store place on Facebook the other day. I think I'll take a look at it. So she's in the store and she's herding her kids and she's thinking about her neighbor's crazy cat and, you know, getting the laundry done. And so she just walks up to the nearest tomato bin and starts throwing tomatoes in a bag. But then she notices this basket of tomatoes, and each with stickers all over the tomatoes. And she stops, and just like Tana did, she stops and catches her eyes, so she goes and checks it out. And she sees this. Looking up on a sign on top of the bin, she sees, hey, this stuff is made locally by people that live here. Just like Tana, she's glad to help out the community, so she puts down the first tomatoes she picked up and picks up the locally produced ones. What this kind of identification will do, this kind of sticker, it will help customers who want to support the local community. It'll help them do that. It'll make it easier for them. Tana didn't have to flip the loaf of bread over, dig through the fine print, and find the black print on the clear bag over a loaf of bread in small letters that says, you know, baked in Denton. It was there. It was visible. It was very noticeable. By creating truck stickers like these and putting them on all goods that are created locally, you will help local farmers build brand loyalty, and you'll help customers. You'll make it easier for customers to support the local community. And earlier, a presentation talked about how a company had an advantage because they'd already reached economies of scale. Well, what about farmers like Aaron? They haven't reached economies of scale. Established farms have, you know, they're out of state, they're not local. And so he needs all the competitive advantage that he can get. So he'd be happy to see something like this, that his name will be on his produce all the way into someone's basket. And now Nathaniel will share our last point.
All right. This is actually farmers and consumers connecting. Didn't make it in there. Sorry.
It's Aaron and Susan.
There you go. So, I love this picture. It really speaks to me. It says, thank you, and then it floats off into the distance. That's not really the kind of impact that you want to have. It's not good advertisement. You don't want people thinking about trash when they go into your store. You don't want people looking at the trash in the porch, seeing your store and saying, I mean, they're just not gonna do it. They're not gonna say, wow, we should really go in there. It's not gonna happen. Advertisers haven't picked up on this yet. I don't know why. Usually when you go into your car and clean it out, I'm at least thinking about all the places that I need to not go to anymore, like Jack in the Box and that sort of thing. So this also reminds me about something else. I was at the grocery store the other day, walking through the parking lot, and this bag, it was a company bag of a big name brand store, flies out in front of my path, and you know, I look at it and I say, that's a 21st century tumbleweed right there. Once again, this is not the image that you want to have, this big, you know, faceless, nameless, it will remain nameless store. But everyone uses plastic because it's cheap, it's inexpensive, and yeah, your name does get out there. But the thing is, this isn't a clean image. Even people that don't necessarily care about the environment, they do care when the trash ends up on their front porch. So we're gonna keep your image clean by not having this sort of trash out there. How do we do this? We show the communities that we actually care, that we're interested in recycling, keeping those areas clean. We use reusable bags. Now, of course, I think it's great because this isn't just about marketing. You can actually sell the bags. It's something else that you can sell. I think it's another product that you can have available. There's also, the other idea that we had was kind of like a rotating bag deposit. Basically, the way this would work is you get to the store, you didn't bring your bag with you. It's okay. There's a place where you can get a loaner. So you go, you get your bags, you do your shopping, you go home. So the next time that you come back to the store, you bring all your bags with you. That way you're not just throwing them out, cleaning out your car. And it's also connecting with the community at large because someone else brought their bag back. Now you're bringing it back for someone else to use it again, kind of passing it forward. Of course, you can't do this for everything. It's just not going to work for me. You got to have, some things have to be separate, but everyone does want to contribute. So just make it easy for them to do their part and conserve as much as possible. So this is important to connect with the local community. You know, it's important to conserve for the future. It's just important to conserve in general for right now. All communities produce waste. But you don't want, as a new company, you don't want to introduce that waste yourself, especially right off the bat. It'll make you look bad. It's got that image. And if you don't think so, I didn't pick up that plastic bag in the parking lot. So it's still out there somewhere for someone else to look at and get that same image. Now, we have talked a lot about the customers, but this puts a lot of the burden on them to, you know, not burden, but they're participating. But we want the producers to participate as well, sorry about that. Now, we know it's hard work producing this organic food, right? So we're gonna create, you know, the best conservation effort for the month is to go in the best bin. This is a special place, good real estate right at the front of the store, and it's gonna be basically the first thing you see when you come in. This is going to allow you to promote yourself through your conservation efforts, and it's just not like, oh, we did this because of something. So it's kind of a marketing thing for the farmers. Just to kind of round it off, you want to incorporate this sort of initiative into your stores and the local communities to keep garbage not floating around like this one. And this is important, you know, for farmers because pesticides and all that sort of thing, they get in the water. And especially in Texas, at least for sure, a lot of our water comes from aquifers. It goes into the ground, it's going to seep in. It's not good. So, connect.
as you focus on your marketing efforts, all we ask you to do is remember one word, that is connect. Connect to the producers in the area, connect to the local community, connect the farmers to the producers, and connect to conservation. Sorry, keep looking at it. If you can remember at the beginning of the discussion, that loaf of bread that Tana introduced, that's exactly how we think we need to connect. So continue to build on these connections. They already are out there and they already exist. All right.